Sup? Go.
Sunday, January 2nd.
Oh, today's Sunday. What's up? Hey.
1972. 16-year-old Timothy McCoy got up early to make breakfast. He had met John Wayne Gacy at the Chicago bus terminal the night before.
John Wayne Gacy. That's a hell of a name.
When Gacy let him stay over while he made his way home to Iowa after spending Christmas in Michigan. McCoy got out eggs and bacon and set the table for two. Then he walked up the stairs to wake up Gacy, not realizing that he hadn't put down the knife that he was using. What happened next would set the scene for the rest of John Wayne Gacy's life. Not realizing that the boy had intended no harm, Gacy took the boy's life. He then buried him in his crawl space beneath his home and covered the grave with concrete. Killing McCoy reportedly gave Gacy a mind-numbing orgasm. The murder had allegedly been a mistake.
If you're gonna I gotta be vague about this. If you're gonna do some cluck shit to another person, like to the max, like if you're gonna torture them and all that, and that gets you going, that gets you horny, you coming all over the place, you know, that gets you hot and bothered. Make it make sense, cause I cannot. Hey, all right. So I believe in a multiverse, right? And there's probably countless versions of me, right? But there's probably a world where everybody is a great person. And that might be a great world to be in right now. You know, it's like everybody evil here is probably a great person in an alternate universe, in a different world. Can I go over there, please?
But it instilled in Gacy the ultimate thrill that he would crave for the rest of his life.
That's right.
This just happens to be one of the inspirations behind the movie, It.
My ass. I don't know how people do that. Like with like when the people have guitars and shit, or like rock and roll, and it's just like y'all just throwing y'all head. I got a headache just doing the little bit I did. How do y'all like? I don't know. That be y'all. How do y'all be doing that? Oh my God, y'all! I know y'all got headaches at the end of the parties. Sus.
Those who knew John Wayne Gacy would have never expected him to turn out the way he did. Almost everyone who met him described him as a mild-mannered and likable man for most of his life.
That's how they all are. It's very few, like, killers that are weird or standoffish or I feel like eye booger. There's very few people that do some cluck shit, but they start off weird or crazy or sus. But it's more often than not that killers and other cluckies, they start off or they seem normal, an average person. But for the most part, 9 times out of 10, they always seem like an average person.
In customer service, first managing 3 of his father-in-law's KFC franchises.
KFC?
Then starting his own construction business. His customers remembered him as a kind, generous, and willing to help out anyone type of person.
So what happened? When did it go downhill? Unless he was crazy and clucked since the beginning. That he was just putting on a show, putting on a facade.
He employed local teenagers in need of jobs and contributed heavily to his local junior chamber of commerce. He even took time out on his weekends to dress up as a clown for kids' birthday parties.
Okay, excuse me. Okay, that's where it goes. That's where it starts. Okay. All right. Cool. I wonder if people that put on these masks and put on these outfits and do crazy shit, I wonder like the first time they do it, they put on the mask, they put on the outfit, they be like, I could do some shit. And they would never know who I am.
However, as authorities would learn, something seriously disturbing had been inside him all along.
Pause.
John Wayne Gacy was born in Chicago on March 7, 1942. His father had always despised him, calling him a sissy, and abused him from the age of 4.
God damn! Alright. Okay, there go the backstory right there. His father ain't shit.
He often berated the boy and whipped him with a belt. Early on, Gacy realized that he was gay, but during the 1950s that was still taboo, so he pretended to be straight his entire life. Gacy had a heart condition that limited his physical activity and plagued him with being fat his whole life. He spent much of his youth in a hospital. When he was 11, doctors discovered that he had a blood clot in his brain. They were able to treat it, but even that didn't spare Gacy from his father's wrath.
So, the It Clown, he's gay? Hold on now.
Eventually, Gacy had enough of the abuse, and he picked up and moved out west. While working as a mortuary assistant in Las Vegas, Gacy slept on a cot behind the embalming room. One night, after observing the morticians embalming dead bodies, he crawled into a coffin with one. He laid in the coffin for a time, embracing and caressing the body, and it was a teenage boy. Soon after, he enrolled in college. After graduating from Northwestern Business College, John Wayne Gacy met Marilyn Myers, a co-worker at a shoe company in Springfield, Illinois.
There was no build-up to that. So he was just rolling around with dead bodies. There was no build-up to it. There was no segue into it. It was just like, he got abused, mistreated, and all the above when he was younger by his father. And then he moved away, and then it was just like a light switch. It was like black and white, like night and day. Like, what the fuck?
The couple married in 1964, and Gacy took over the management of his father-in-law's Kentucky Fried Chicken franchises in Waterloo, Iowa, where they lived with his wife's parents. Eventually, he and Myers had 2 children in what was seemingly a perfect life. In the meantime, Gacy tried to covertly satisfy his depravity. He joined the Waterloo Jaycees, a group of businessmen who participated in wife swapping, prostitution, and pornography.
Wait a minute. So who is he with? What? This picture that he's shown with his lady, who is he with? Who is he? That's not his lover. Who is that? Don't tell me that's his wife. Because isn't he gay? Like, what the? Oh my God, okay. Unless I'm missing some shit.
Also drugs. He even opened up a club in his own basement targeted at teenagers, where they could drink and play pool without getting in trouble. He often would build up trust with his victims, so they wouldn't need to be on guard. He was their employer and their friend. He may have been someone who provided them with alcohol and drugs.
What is this? is this a house? Or is this like a, I don't know what that is. I can't imagine that being a house.
Maybe a place to sleep at night. Then Gacy began to force some of these young men, including those he employed at KFC, to perform acts with him.
Okay, all right. So when he moved out from his parents' place, when he moved, that's when it started to go downhill. Yeah. I might need like a more in-depth backstory. Because it's like something switched in his head.
This would be his first downfall. It started in August 1967 when Gacy hired Donald Voorhees, the son of a fellow member of one of the clubs.
Donald Voorhees? Is he related to Jason Voorhees?
To do some housework for him. Gacy lured him into his basement, plied him with alcohol, and forced him to perform certain acts. Voorhees kept quiet about the incident until March 1968, when he told his father and spurred a criminal investigation into Gacy that destroyed the illusion of a normal life he had crafted. A few months later, he paid a KFC employee $300 to beat up Voorhees, hoping to scare him from testifying in court. But Voorhees escaped and reported the attempted beating, and the case against Gacy only escalated. In December 1967, John Wayne Gacy pleaded guilty to oral sodomy. At that time,
oral sodomy. What is that? I pretty much can put two and two together. He was messing with little boys in the basement. Oral. And I don't know what sodomy means, but I can probably take a wild guess.
Sexual relations between two people of the same sex was illegal in Iowa. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison and promptly served.
10 years is crazy. 10 years ain't nothing. And not in his situation.
First papers from his wife, whom he had never seen again. But less than 2 years after that, John Wayne Gacy was granted parole for being a model prisoner. During the short time he was incarcerated, Gacy managed to secure a raise for the prison mess hall workers, worked to improve conditions for prisoners, and oversaw the installation of a miniature golf course in the
You cannot trust that. You can't trust that. I hope they don't got that. Man, I don't. It's like gun laws. It's just kind of it's a touchy topic. It's a touchy like conversation because like you have some inmates, some prisoners that would use the the program where it goes based off like how well you do and off basic good behavior and shit like that. You can like get a reduced sentence or like you get like less time or free. I don't know. Like I just don't trust that.
Yard. He was given 12-month probation under the conditions that he moved back to Chicago to live with his mother and maintain a 10 p.m. curfew. He agreed and declared. He said that he'll never go back to jail.
That's cap.
Months after his release, John Wayne Gacy lured a teenage boy into his house and tried taking advantage of the boy.
What? Go back.
To his house.
Nope.
A 10 p.m. curfew. He agreed and declared. He said that he'll never go back to jail. Months after his release, John Wayne Gacy lured a teenage boy.
Months. What's that? 2-3 months? You see, you can't trust that. Once you go to prison, do your time, and then come out. Don't do your time. Let's say you got 12 years, but you in a program in which it goes based off good behavior. It goes based off like how well you do. And if you pass, you go from 12 years, I don't know, to 2 years. That's crazy as hell.
into his house and tried taking advantage of the boy. Gacy was charged with assault, but the charges were dropped when the boy failed to show up to court. Gacy had technically violated his parole, but somehow his parole officer was never aware of the incident. By 1971, Gacy had settled into a new home in Norwood Park, a neighborhood in northwestern Chicago. His yellow brick ranch house there would eventually become a graveyard for 29 young men and boys. It was where all of his gruesome murders would be committed, and also where he would gain a local fame as Pogo the Clown.
Oh no.
While in prison, John Wayne Gacy became something of an artist and repeatedly sketched the image of Pogo the Clown. After his release, he joined the local Jolly Joker Club, a clown club that would perform at birthday parties and hospitals. He taught himself how to apply clown makeup and turned himself into Pogo the Clown as he had imagined in his drawings. He performed as Pogo the Clown at all sorts of local parties, including Democratic Party functions and charitable events. Residents of Norwood Park also remember him showing up to his favorite bar, the Good Luck Lounge, dressed up as Pogo the Clown. He was a monster that was fooling everyone. He dressed as a clown and bounced kids on his knee all the time. He would knock at people's doors and say, "Vote for my candidate." But Pogo the Clown didn't fool everybody. Carol Hoff, his high school sweetheart and second wife, who he married in 1972, questioned his sexuality. When Gacy told her he was bisexual in 1975, Hoff divorced him and left him alone in their house. Though she denied knowledge of what was to come, Hoff later admitted to authorities that she had seen him bringing teenage boys into their garage before. The same year Gacy married Hoff, he committed his first murder, that of Timothy McCoy. He stashed the body under his crawlspace. Gacy reportedly managed to kill a second victim while still married to his wife in 1974. The victim is still unidentified, but Gacy claims to have strangled a young man and hid him in his closet. When the body began to leak, he moved it to his crawlspace as well. But after his divorce, the killer clown had the freedom to bring more victims into his home, except for the final 4 victims, who he dumped into a river. And all of his victims were killed and stored under his house.
Shit!
Gacy's victims were all young men and boys. He preyed on teenagers, some who were drifters from out of town, and some who were local boys who worked for him. He lured some into his car by impersonating an officer, or to his house with an offer of a job, a place to party, or even money. Once he had his victims in his space, Gacy coaxed them with drugs or alcohol.
I wonder, because it was a different time back then, it seemed like it was easier to get people of certain age, minors, to come to your house. Unless I'm not on the internet like that, or unless I'm just not like, I don't know what's going on, unless I'm out of the loop. Is it as easy to get minors to come to your house and do some shit? Do some cluck shit? Because it seemed like back in the day, like in the 70s, the 80s, whatever, 60s, it seemed more easier to get minors to come to your house and do some shit than it is right now. Maybe it's still easy as it was back in the day, or maybe it's not. I don't know. But it's just, I don't really hear about it like that too much. Not now.
Sick magic trick, during which he'd handcuff them and dangle the key in front of their face. Then he would do horrible things to them and take their life.
Oh,
One
God.
of Gacy's favorite acts was to sit on his victim with all of his weight, which was a lot. He strangled and revived his victims, sometimes even partially drowning them in the bathtub. Gacy would then participate in search parties for some of these boys, as he was friendly with their parents and was considered an upstanding member of the community. He had set himself up to kill unsuspectedly, but his 33rd murder wouldn't go quite as planned.
33rd. One is bad enough. 33rd, 33?
At about 9 p.m. on December 11, 1978, Elizabeth Peace drove to pick her son up, a high school sophomore, an honor roll student named Robert, from his job at a pharmacy in town. Robert Peace went outside and told her to wait a few minutes. He wanted to talk to a customer about a summer contracting job that would pay him twice what he was currently making. That was the last time that Elizabeth saw her son. Before midnight, she went to the police station to file a missing persons report. Police figured out that the man who Robert Peace was going to talk to was John Wayne Gacy, whose company, PDM Contractors, had recently remodeled Peace's pharmacy. They called him into the station for questioning, and Gacy obliged, after taking Peace's body and dumping it into the river. Within hours, authorities searched Gacy's home. They didn't find any bodies, but they did find evidence that Peace had been there, a receipt that belonged to a friend of his. It wasn't until December 22nd, 1978, almost exactly 10 years after his first sodomy conviction, that Gacy, the killer clown, confessed to murdering dozens of young men and boys. Investigators swarmed his house and uncovered 29 bodies in the crawl space. Many had decomposed beyond recognition, and dental experts were brought in to identify John Wayne Gacy's victims by their teeth. 3 years later, the killer clown used an insanity plea during his trial, hoping for a not guilty verdict. The jury didn't buy it. Gacy was sentenced to death and dropped the friendly facade he had maintained for all those years.
Thank you.
He didn't seem to have any remorse for his victims. He would spend 14 years in prison awaiting his execution. The night before he was put to death, he returned to his roots and ordered a bucket of KFC as his last meal. According to the reports, the killer clown's last words before his execution was, "Kiss my ass." No, John Wayne Gacy is long gone, and his house has since been demolished. His legacy lives on. Most of John Wayne Gacy's victims that were retrieved from his crawl space were identified and released to their families. However, 23 years after his death, authorities are still trying to identify the rest. In July 2017, one of the last remaining bodies was finally identified, but his grieving family had already died. 6 of John Wayne Gacy's victims remain anonymous.
So they destroyed his house. Did they cleanse the area? Did they get a priest? Did they pray over that property? Because don't just destroy the property. Don't just destroy his house. Relax. Relax. Gattor files. So yeah, don't just like destroy his property. Don't destroy his house without, taking the necessary steps and making sure that it's cleansed. Because he killed mad people. And if y'all didn't pray over that property, if y'all didn't pray and do all that and get a priest and all that, I guarantee you the next building that's over that property, if y'all built something over that property, I guarantee you that house, that new apartment building, that new whatever is haunted. But I just can't help but to think that, what if he was raised differently? What if he had loving parents that treated him with respect, that treated him like a person, that treated him like they loved him. What if he had that? Would he still turn out the way he did was? Oh no. And I don't want to know, to be honest with you. So, yeah. Keep cool, keep flashing. I love you. Stay happy. My family.